Suella Braverman has gone on record on a programme with Nick Robinson on the BBC, Political Thinking, to say that she finds Gary Lineker's comments the other day, yesterday, about the reference to the 1930s, lazy and thoughtless. Well, in a way, they are lazy because they're not very specific. He is specific insofar as he restricts himself to the 1930s. And Suella Braverman points out that her husband is Jewish and therefore these comments are particularly offensive. Well, actually, her policies should be recognized as particularly offensive. Her policies to discriminate against complete groups of people, to call one group of people, Albanians, an invasion, is to be thoughtless about the use of language. So I think it's the pot calling the kettle black at best. But I also think Gary Lineker's comments, although of course it's unwise to invoke the Third Reich in an argument, I think Gary Lineker's comments are worthy of consideration. I think it is worthier to reflect on the nature of debate going on in the UK during the 1930s, which was reprehensible, and it continued until the late 1940s. And I think it's disturbing that the UK has a history of discriminating against foreigners, and at the same time it also has a history of extraordinary generosity to migrants and to refugees. But it comes against a background of really quite alarming rhetoric. And so it is so important, and I'm terribly proud that we were so instrumental in getting the 1951 Refugee Convention signed and agreed by so many nations around the world. And it's such a central piece of international legislation that we would be extremely foolish to challenge it without encouraging a global revision of the terms of that agreement. That's where I think we should be going, because the refugee situation that we have today is very different to the refugee situation that we faced in the early 1950s. However, to hold people in detention, to think of putting them in another country, to discriminate against people simply because they are fleeing a terrible situation in their own land and they have taken the wrong advice from malicious individuals who are all over Twitter, who indeed have extremely good communication skills. And Suella Braverman demonstrates absolutely that the Home Office fails to have supremely good communication skills. I think it is extremely alarming that that the Home Office in particular is preparing to punish the innocent and the victims of persecution further for relying on people who are scoundrels, traffickers, smugglers. I think we should be addressing this problem internationally. I think we should be addressing this problem in a focused and grown-up way. And I think we should pull back from the harsh rhetoric, which I think, frankly, Gary Lineker is absolutely right in attributing to the 1930s. I think he's not necessarily right in attributing it specifically to Germany, because that rhetoric was shared by a number of countries. I think, should he have attributed Suella Braverman's policies to the period of the 1940s in Germany, the specific period during the Second World War when the Holocaust was ruled out, I think then he would have been in grave error. But he didn't. He was quite specific. And I think it's a great shame that more people in the BBC have not spoken out. And indeed, I wonder if the speed with which politicians have gathered to condemn Gary Lineker is simply a way to draw attention away from Richard Sharp, who is somebody who is clinging onto office in a way reminiscent to Dominic Raab. I mean, maybe one should just simply call people who cling onto office doing a Raab or a Sharp. Sharp turn. And who knows what sharp turns or what Raabs will come next. But certainly I don't think this litany of Conservative MPs getting on their high horse to condemn Lineker is impressive when they don't seem A, to be bothered to answer letters, or B, to mind their own language at all.